We're joined by Rob Roney, who is the West Coast from Rob, is that right? Rob Roney, who is from the West Coast Whitebaiters Association. Association, Rob. How many members in the association, Rob?
At the moment, I think around about 290 last we looked, but it varies quite a bit.
All right. And you're like a registered association?
Yes, we're an incorporated association. Yep.
All right. And for what purpose, Rob? What is the purpose of the association?
To the benefit of our members, our whitebaiters, and just to look after our whitebaiters when there's various issues come up, as they have recently with the Department of Conservation's Whitebait review. We represented our association throughout that process. We were also a point of contact for the department, which they were quite happy to have, because whitebaiters aren't the best organised people, probably.
Well, in some ways and not in others, maybe, Rob. Rob, are you the biggest whitebait association? Are there other whitebait associations in the country?
There is one in Southland. Apart from that, they're very, very small, if at all, yep.
And the West Coast is the predominant... I mean, what are the figures on where most of our whitebaiting occurs?
The largest catch, traditionally by far, has been on the West Coast. But we're also a very large area, of course, stretching from Haast right up to Karamea and beyond. So it is a big area, but we have got the most, by far, unmodified rivers, unmodified landscape, etc., wetlands, etc. So in terms of habitat, it's not too surprising.
Can you own a whitebaiting spot, or is it just tradition?
Yep. Both. You can own a whitebait spot. For example, I have a stand on the Wanganui River, which is down by Harry, and you pay a price for that stand. You have to buy it off somebody who's got them for sale. There's no more stands being introduced.
But who owns stands? Surely that's Queen's Chain. No one can own the river?
Not generally, they can't, although there are some exceptions. Yep.
So how can you buy a stand? How can there be a property right on a waterway?
Well, there is. It's administered by the regional council, and you have a spot of land during the season, and you can construct a stand on that for the period of the season. It then has to be taken down and removed.
And occasionally you read stories about people having quite, the Bobsy die, the old Donnybrook over stands.
Not generally over stands. It's probably more over people coming in and not knowing the rules. And
well, where are the rules? How do I learn the rules, Rob?
You go into the Department of Conservation website, and you go into the whitebaiting page there. They've got a how-to section. It's very well. It's just been redone. It's very good and quite clearly tells you the rules. So anyone can access that, no problem at all.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. So you're all out amongst it. Yep. How long does the season last?
Well, the season's been changed. It now lasts 2 months, from the 1st September to the 30th of October. And we have had ours reduced in the review by 2 weeks. We used to go into halfway through November. The rest of the country, who have always had a longer season than the West Coast, theirs has been reduced 6 weeks, which is quite considerable change for them.
All right.
The West Coast, we've always had our own rules here. There's basically always been 2 sets of rules, one for the West Coast and one for...
it's like a lot of other things in life, Rob.
Well, it is, but it may surprise you that our rules were always much more conservative and much tougher than the rest of the country. And that still remains. Strangely enough, after the review, they retained our stricter rules on the West Coast, and the rest of the country still has more liberal rules in terms of...
All right, so anyone can do it.
Yep.
Anyone can buy and sell. I'm going to ask a question. It's a seafood, and there are health issues here. How are you meant to treat whitebait so they don't go off, and how long do they last, frozen or fresh? Because that seems to me to be a risk area of the whole whitebait culture.
Well, interesting. I've never heard of an issue with whitebait affecting anyone's health. Having said that, we treat them, people who sell them, treat them very carefully, and those of us who put them to the home freezer, you keep them alive during the day, and so you don't actually take them out of the water. You have what's called a live box, which is a mesh box in the river, and you keep adding the whitebait as you catch them to that, so they're alive in the water quite happily during the day. As soon as you pack up to go home, you take them home and you freeze them as quickly as possible. And that would be the case for most people.
So you get them frozen, right?
We get them frozen unless you just want to keep them fresh for 2 or 3 days in the fridge. No problem at all.
And 2 or 3 days would be your max, then they're starting to go off? Like
well,
any
I don't
fish?
take it off, but I would, like any fish, they're better fresh and they just simply don't taste as good. Mm.
Yeah, all right. And it would seem to me the whitebait friture or the whitebait sandwich is the preferred way for people to go with eating them these days. Yeah,
just a simple whitebait patty. All you need is an egg, salt and pepper, and put your whitebait in with it. More whitebait than egg, and cook it up. Very easy to cook and delicious.
And a bit of mayo maybe on with that, or hollandaise?
Oh, could be. Some people actually, I've heard, add various things to it. But no, most people just have salt and pepper.
You are a traditionalist. Okay, what should a kilo of whitebait cost me this season?
Well, it varies and depends on the season, really. If there's been massive catches, then the price comes down to supply and demand. But I would think you'd be looking around $80 a kilo.